Hello everyone, I'm Lindsay from Happy Hour Stitches, and we are starting month 3 of the Happy Hour Stitches Summer of Finishes Challenge. So I just wanted to do a little check-in and see how it's going for everyone. You can see my month 3 project behind me. It is my book club quilt pattern. I made one to document a year of reading. So it's a very big quilt. It's probably a queen size bed quilt. So I saved my hardest quilt for last, kind of with the thought process that if I needed more time, I would just keep this challenge going for myself through September, through the fall, whatever I needed. So I'm excited to tackle this one, and this will be my 3rd finished for the summer. So I'm very excited about the progress I'm making and the progress I'm seeing everyone else making. So why don't you grab your cup of coffee, sit down with your quilt, and join me for a few minutes while I chat about some thoughts I have on perfectionism and how that affects the finishing process. Now, before I begin, I just want to share a little bit more about the Summer of Finishes Challenge in case you're new here or you're joining late. So this challenge is aimed at helping you finish your pile of quilt tops that just needs to be quilted and bound. So to help keep us on track, I have a rough weekly schedule I suggest we follow. And then our goal is to just finish 1 quilt top a month this summer. So I've been popping in every few weeks with some helpful videos. I've been sharing tips and tutorials on the blog and social media and video tutorials on YouTube here. And then we've had lots of fun on social media as well. So my blog does have all the resources you need, including the schedule, some other downloads, links to resources and everything. So it's never too late to join. Although it's called the Summer of Finishes Challenge, it really is just aimed at helping you finish your quilt top kind of on a monthly basis. So you can use this whenever you want. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter, download the resources, use the hashtag so that I can cheer you on with all your finishes this year. And yeah, it's been a really fun challenge so far. So we're in our last month. We're gonna finish strong, everyone. Okay, so now let's dive into my thoughts on perfectionism. So people can feel different levels of perfectionism in their quilting lives. So I know some people who agonize over every step of the process. You know, they need to pick the perfect fabrics. They're pressing their quilt blocks until there's no creases at all. They need to machine quilt like they're a professional. Maybe their backing design, they need the motifs on the backing to align so you can't even tell there's a seam. Maybe their binding, their mitered corners have to just be so perfect. And then I think there's another side of perfectionism, which is perfectionism around the circumstances of finishing a quilt. So maybe you feel like you can only finish a quilt when all your work is done, all your household chores are done, all your errands are run. Maybe you can only finish a quilt if you have no other ongoing projects happening. Maybe you only set aside time to finish a project when you have days free for you to work on them. And because we have all these like perfect standards for how we finish a project or the process, sometimes we just end up paralyzed and we don't end up finishing anything. So this fear that speaks through our perfectionism can often keep us from finishing our quilts. So any mistake we make somehow becomes a reflection of who we are as a quilter. It feels that way. And honestly, we should be embracing our quilts despite of or because of these mistakes, these imperfections, because that's what makes every quilt beautiful. That's what it helps show to others that it's handmade. So our imperfections in our quilts are what make our quilts feel special and unique. So when you're finishing a project, perfectionism can rear its ugly head in a variety of ways. So maybe you're working on a project you started years ago, and now that you're seeing it again and you're working on it, you actually notice that maybe your skills have dramatically improved. maybe your style or your taste in fabrics have changed. And that sometimes makes us pause because we want to go back and we want to fix things and change things about the quilt instead of just pushing forward to a finish. Or maybe you're still learning how to do something like machine quilts and you're a little unsure about your skills. And instead of just accepting where you are right now in your skill level and kind of being brave and just using those skills to finish a quilt, you decide to hold out and you're going to practice a lot more and you're kind of going to obsess about your quilting being perfect. And until you've mastered machine quilting, you're not going to quilt your quilts. So I always suggest to quilters that you need to find your comfort zone of what you can let go of, so that you can push forward on your projects. Now, I'm not saying that you can't take the extra time to fix a few things. Maybe you want to spend a few more hours practicing a specific machine quilting design before you dive into your quilt, so that you can feel really confident. You should absolutely love your finished quilt. You should be so proud of your finished quilt. I'm just suggesting that if you're feeling stuck on a project, you can just ask yourself, is it the perfectionism talking? Is my perfectionism saying my skills aren't good enough? This quilt isn't good enough? And if it is your perfectionism saying those things, just ignore it. Just say, no, not today, and move forward and finish that project. It's funny. A lot of times when I see antique quilts, the things I praise about them are the mistakes. Like these little imperfections that add this charm and personality to those antique quilts. And that's what I truly love and remember about those antique quilts. And so I always try to remind myself that I don't really notice mistakes in other people's finished quilts. And oftentimes I don't even notice them in my own quilts once the quilt is finished and it's been washed a few times and it's in use in our house. I usually just don't overanalyze those quilts anymore once they're finished. So I think the best part about the finishing process is that you're giving a quilt, you're giving it life. So this quilt will start to hold memories of the special people who used it, the occasion it was displayed before, maybe the happy or the hard times it provided comfort through. And so those memories start to take on in that life of the quilt, and they start to kind of blur your vision of all those imperfections, and it makes the quilt really special. So no quilt that has ever been made has been perfect. We can't expect that level of perfectionism in ourselves, and we definitely wouldn't expect it of others, right? So we just need to give ourselves a little grace as we're quilting, as we're finishing these quilts, because sometimes finished is better than perfect. So like I said, I'm so excited to be a part of this challenge with you all. So I hope you grab your quilt top. I have mine already. And let's get finishing. And of course, make sure you're sharing your quilts on social media using the hashtag #SummerOfFinishes so I can cheer you on, and watch for more helpful tips throughout this month, tutorials on my website and more. So we have lots of good things still coming. So I will chat with everyone again soon.